a playlist original.
Hey, what's up? It's your host, Tori, and who is ready to be petty? Welcome back to another episode of RTBP. I am so glad you are here. This week, Cam from the What I Will Say podcast joins me, and we have so much fun talking about a lot of conspiracy theories around Taylor Swift and the D Dozen. We'll get into that later in the episode. It's super fun. I really highly suggest you check out my folklore episode with Nick that was posted a few weeks ago. And then check out Cam's podcast, What I Will Say, because we get into queer theories about Taylor Swift pretty quick, and we definitely get jargony, and we sometimes stop to explain stuff, but also just get wrapped up in it. So if you're confused about anything, DM Cam or I, look up a Tumblr master post. Just, I don't know, enjoy the ride. We're gonna take you to some far off places, and I hope you enjoy, truly. If you haven't already, subscribe to the podcast, share it on your social medias, share it with a friend. Those are some of the best ways that you can support the podcast. Just, text it to a friend that you think would like a little bit more pettiness in their life. I have some fun stuff coming up in the fall that you won't want to miss. I am so excited about what's in store for RTBP's 4th year in existence. I can barely keep any secrets, so just stay tuned for that. I'm really, really excited. But let's get into it. It is a really fun episode, so enjoy my conversation with Cam. I'm back with a very special guest. Cam from the What I Will Say podcast is here. Cam, how are you?
Tori, I'm doing so great, especially great because I'm here with you.
Thank you. I know, it's like I feel like we could talk forever.
We could. We before recording this, listeners, Tori and I just got into it, like talking. Like I was like, we should start recording because we're just getting into it. Like,
yes, this is good content, and maybe we'll touch on this later.
Yes.
So if the listeners don't know, Cam, you host a podcast mainly on Taylor Swift conspiraships.
Well, we're branching out. Because there's only so much you can say about Taylor Swift. Yeah, we're branching out.
The Swifties would beg to differ.
Well, luckily I'm not a Swiftie, so.
Yeah. I'm such a Taylor Swift fan, but I don't brand myself as a Swiftie.
Well, that's like, it's a whole different ballgame. Like, to be a Swiftie is, I think you have to get like some paperwork for that. You have to, it's just a whole extra. Like, I love Taylor and I'm obsessed with her music. And of course, I'm obsessed with her personal life. But like, I think I criticize her a little too much to be a Swiftie. Because Swifties is very much like a blind worship, kind of.
Yeah.
No offense to Swifties.
Yes. No offense. Love you.
Like, no offense to anyone. Love you. Yeah.
Don't dox me. But we are going to get into some Taylor Swift criticism later on in this podcast.
Trigger warning.
Trigger warning. How did you become a Taylor Swift fan? Just through her music? Like, were you a day one girly?
Kind of. I mean, I don't know that I want to claim it just because, like, I haven't followed her closely enough to maybe own that, but whatever. I mean, I remember hearing, Teardrops on My Guitar and like our song on the radio and being very excited about these cute country songs. And she was like, did her country debut not too far from where I grew up. Like she was around. Like she was kind of a local girl almost. Like I was like, oh, Taylor. Yeah, me and Taylor. Like, yeah, she's, because I'm from the deep south of America. So
right.
And I've just thought she was an excellent musician and loved a ton of her music just through the years. And then in the summer of 2020 is when I got obsessed with her because
the Carly Kloss of it, the Diana Agron of it.
Yeah, the Diana Agron of it in particular. And
yes.
It just took off from there. So my quarantine hyperfixation, we all had one. So, nobody called me weird because I know you guys were doing weird stuff too.
Yeah, for sure.
Was to learn everything I could about, like, first the rumor relationship between Taylor and Diana Swift-Gron, which is kind of my specialty, but then also everything else I could learn about all the ladies, all the gossip, all the guys, because I think she's bi. I think she's dated guys as well. So I wanted to know everything I could about that. And now I do. And no, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
Now
honestly,
I've got,
you do.
now I've got a podcast. We review like what I call conspiraships. So that's like conspiracy relationships. And we just talk about like, okay, here's these two famous people. Some people say they dated. Some people say no way, they were just friends. And we try and get to the bottom of it. And we've started looking at relationships from like, okay, everybody thinks this is PR, but what if it's real? So, and Tori, you joined me like a month ago, and we went over Griles, which is the rumored relationship between Harry Styles and Nick Grimshaw, which was a ton of fun and definitely
so much fun. It's just fun going back in that like era. Like I really feel like there was something about like, what was that, 2014? That
2012,
was so
2013, 2014 was like very much an era in like the Taylor, the Harry, the One Direction, the the Red album, Justin and Selena, like all of it. There was a lot, and I spend a lot of time. Fifth Harmony starts coming up. Like I've spent a lot of time talking about that era and other eras, but.
Yeah. Do you think that Taylor's like this interest in these conspiraships comes from her being very conspiratory? Like, I don't know. Like
yes.
Her, like.
The Easter egg hunts.
The Easter eggs of it all. Like no other artist other than like maybe Olivia Rodrigo, who obviously got some of this from Taylor Swift, does this in-depth, these hints for her fans.
Yeah. I feel like, there's been a tradition in music for a long time. Like as long as we had maybe the concept of modern music, people have always been about like, well, who's the muse and who's not. So you go back to even like classic rock, like Layla and Other Love Songs, which is an Eric Clapton project, an album, was all about Patty Harrison, who's George Harrison's wife. And there was sort of this scandal that he just fell madly in love with her. And two of the best songs ever, Layla, and then also Why Does Love Got to Be So Sad, came out of that. And it's just like, people wanted the tea and people wanted to know who the songs are about. And, you talk about the drama within Fleetwood Mac. That's another, their songs are all about each other, right? And they're all this internal drama in the band. And songs like You're So Vain, like everybody wants to know who's the muse of this song. But Taylor has tapped into that in a almost just like, I don't know. Taylor, like, would it be wrong to say like almost in a capitalistic way?
Oh, 100%. She is my favorite capitalist.
Right. Like, she's the only capitalist that gets rights, maybe. I don't know. No, Taylor does not deserve rights. But like from the very start, right? She was naming songs. She was like naming, like having guys' names pop up in songs like Drew Looks at Me and Teardrops. She put Sam Armstrong, bless his heart, his name six times, Sam, hidden in the liner notes of Should Have Said No. So like Taylor has been like, hey girls, like, you want to know who I'm writing my songs about? Here's a bunch of clues. It's in the liner notes. It's in the song. It's in the name of the song. It's if I wrote We Were in a Place. Well, what place was I with that guy in? And the problem is like Taylor's very bisexual. And I say that so casually now because I've spent so long doing this and like heard so much tea from like well-vetted sources and like studied it all. And like, I guess maybe I shouldn't say it so casually, but like she just is, because she's hidden clues about like, if you go look at the Lover era, she wore a bi pride bracelet. She put the bi pride flag in her hair in a music video about, gay pride. She dropped a song called Me on Lesbian Visibility Day and said, me out now. There's a lot of stuff like that. So it's the same kind of Easter eggs. She put a pride pin on her like Easter egg jacket. There's a ton of stuff from that era. But there's been other stuff too, right? You go back to the 1989 era. She wrote Boys and Boys and Girls and Girls. You can want who you want, Boys and Boys and Girls and Girls, into Welcome to New York. Like she's been like, even the music video for Mean has a little gay boy in it that's being bullied for being gay. That's Mean. That's Speak Now. So she's been like commenting on queer culture for over a decade now. So to take away all the rumors, take away like, oh, well, I think her and Carly Kloss, blah, blah, blah. You can take that away. Taylor's still like queer, in my opinion. And I remain, despite like being a Swift-Run expert and like knowing everything I can about Gaylor, I remain extremely skeptical of all of it.
I know.
Swift-Run.
I know. Like, I listened to your podcast and you're like, but it could be this way too.
Right.
And I was like, no, Cam, like, it's not.
Which like is probably annoying to some people, but I don't know how to approach it any other way. I'm a skeptic in real life. Good. I'm like, if you can't prove this in a lab, I don't want to hear about it. Like, I'm very much.
It's good.
Right. So that's just how I do it.
It's not even like skepticism per se. It's like just ensuring that, you know, there's a chance that it could not be true, which I think it was good to have.
Well, I don't want it to be a religion. Like some people that follow these ships, like should I name names, or I don't even have to name names. Like you guys know, some shippers take it to a level that to me is unacceptable. Like 100%. Just screaming, fighting with people about it, you know, just the Twitter brawls, and just like to the point where the celebs, like, you know, they don't even like that section of their fan base, and
totally
it's too much.
It reminds me of even this Met Gala. Haley and Justin are walking the red carpet and people are chanting Selena.
Yeah.
Like just
like
that
chill.
type of thing that I'm like, because like I'm a Jelena shipper till I die, but like right. I'm not chanting Selena if I ever saw like the couple out in public. That's unhinged.
No, I think people should make their TikToks, make their Tumblr posts, and throw it into the Jelena tag, but they shouldn't be trying to drag Justin and Selena and Haley into the Jelena tag, right? And I strongly believe that. So.
Yeah, like bully them like in public,
just like
at an event.
Yeah, we just need to leave them alone.
It's so weird. That's so funny though. So do you follow other Taylor Swift? Like, are you, when she releases a music video, are you looking for Easter eggs that indicate romantic relationships, or are you also looking at, because she does lots of like music release dates,
I leave
future stuff, like,
the thing is like you can just copy off the Swifties homework, they will do it, so I don't spend a lot of time worrying about, well, let me get out my trigonometry calculator and this fucking, what's that thing that's a triangle, and like, yeah. You know, I'm not like out here like, let's do some switchy calculus. Yeah, like let me get on my protractor and like get a calendar out with these, and like actually you need the Mayan calendar. No, I'm not doing that, because Swifties will do it. Swifties will do it. So I just let them do it, and then I copy their homework and I say, well, here's the theory. What do we guys think? Like today is the day that we're recording this is August 22nd. Taylor like on TikTok maybe had like some stuff pinned or had some sounds, or like the sounds lined up on TikTok. So like August, the song, and then 22, the song, were like pinned. And then also she had the 10-minute All Too Well. So people think TS10 was going to be announced on August 22nd. Yeah. And so like I posted that theory and I was like, what do you guys think? But like I don't get into the prognostication myself, because I think Taylor, like, it doesn't happen anymore. Like the clues don't add up to anything anymore. And I think Taylor's just sick of it for a while. And I mean, someday it'll come back, I hope, because it's fun for her fans. But like, I will be watching music videos to see who do I think this song is about.
Yeah. 100%.
I can't help that. Because like, listen, I'm just like a nasty little gay. Like I'm here for the nasty little tea. But I will remain pretty skeptical. So like a lot of people will say, oh, this is so obviously like she's not, oh, it's so loud. This is so obviously this. And I was like, well, it could be. But yeah. You know, there are some things that she could do that I would be like, oh shit, that song is about Diana. Like, oh shit, that is a call out to so-and-so or whoever. But I try not to go overboard with my speculations. It's probably a little too late for that. Because I did.
You're like, I've capped it at the normal amount.
I've capped it at the normal amount. If you guys want to see like how unhinged I can get, go to swiftgrandmasterpost.tumblr.com, because that's where you know.
I love a good master post. Like,
listen, you've got to do it when it's Taylor, or honestly when it's conspiracy ships in general. It is the only acceptable way to communicate things besides a podcast, is in master post format.
100%. Have you done a episode on Lorde and Jack Antonoff?
No. We might someday, but I don't really like either of them. I like some of Lord's music, but like
I don't either. But
Jack is annoying to me for some reason.
He's so annoying, but I will bring that up as often as I can just because I want to talk about that conspiracy.
It's a good like straight one because there's not so many straight like when you start talking about straight people, then you start having to be like, no, they're not PR, I swear. So like we were talking about Harry and Olivia Wilde. Like I'm a Wild Styles, which people call it Olivia. Why is it not Wild Styles? That's so wrong.
Wild Styles is so much better. Yeah. No, I get that. I know because I'm always like Ben and Jen are real and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think they're real. Yeah, the ones that just got married.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And like when we were talking about Olivia and Harry before the episode started, the other part about them that I do think is real that people get messed up is that like you can have a real relationship and have it mutually beneficial for both of your careers. And I think people, since PR relationship is such a overused term nowadays, I feel like people forget that gray ground is probably the most likely.
Yeah, I mean, it's just true. Like, people can use, I mean, look at Taylor and Carly. Like, they did so many pap walks together. They would, like, Carly would be, like, doing a Victoria's Secret deal where Victoria's Secret is, like, hawking this, like, perfume. And then they'll go, what's that makeup shop?
Sephora?
Yeah. Then Carly and Taylor go to Sephora. There's, like, 50 paps there waiting for them when they get there. They're they're like professionally styled and done up, and then they go shopping in Sephora and they've called the paps on themselves. Like, come on! Like, even if you think they were sleeping together behind the scenes, like they were like also mutually promoting other stuff. Like,
100%.
That happened a lot with them. There's many instances of that, and I'm not saying there wasn't something else going on, but it's just like real connections, friendship, beyond that, whatever, can be used for PR. Like, just because some celebs call the paps on themselves does not mean they're definitely fake. It means they need attention, but like celebs always need attention. So
totally. And I liken it to real life couples too. Like, people marry for love, obviously, but sometimes it's also for status and money and all of that stuff. So yeah, it's just like real life.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, let's get into our topics for today. We're going to talk about our girl Taylor Swift because she has been in the news quite a bit, even though she was like not releasing new music. We're going to talk about like the summer of queer news because there's so much going on. We're going to talk about family TikTokers, specifically the Dougherty.
I don't know how to say it either. I think it might be Dougherty.
Oh my God. If it is, okay, so I'm just not going to name them ever again. But this is the problem.
The D Dozen.
The D Dozen. This is the problem with like watching something on TikTok. But then, and then I was on Reddit, obviously. But then never saying it aloud or hearing it said aloud like until you're podcasting.
Like that's very much a 2022 problem of like, well, I've never said this aloud until I had to talk about it on my podcast. Yeah, I don't know. It could be Dougherty. I feel like she says Dougherty though, but probably. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Probably. That might be like the anglicized, I don't know, version of this like Scottish, Irish word.
Scottish or Irish. I should know because I am Scots-Irish.
Yeah, same here. Like 100%. And then Cam is going to name a Pettyweight Champion of the Week and share her This Week in Petty story. So let's get into it. I haven't talked about this. I talked a little bit about Kylie, but not specifically about Taylor. Everyone knows Kylie Jenner posted a controversial Instagram post about her and Travis Scott's jet, saying you're playing or mine. And she got a lot of backlash. People were calling her a climate criminal. And then very soon after that post was out, a list of the highest polluting private jets owned by celebs was posted. I believe Kris Jenner whipped that list up real quick.
I've heard that too, but do we know where it was originally posted?
I think it was on the Celeb Jets account. I'm probably giving that account way too much credit, but they've been the ones that have been on the cutting edge of sharing all of these celebrity flights. They track private jets owned by all these celebs because I guess it's public information.
Do we think Chris like slid into DMs like, here's $1,000? Like, can you like? But I mean, I feel like it's true though. That's the thing, because Taylor didn't deny it. And, like, she flies a lot because she's following Joe Alwyn everywhere he goes.
Totally. And it's not also, like, it's funny because Kylie and Kim were still in the top 10. So it wasn't like it was clearing their names by any means. But it definitely put the light on Taylor Swift, who was the #1 highest polluting private jet owner.
Do you want my take on if it was Chris or not?
Yes.
I think Swifties made that up. I feel like they're like, you guys, this is a Kris Jenner hit piece. And it's like, how, where? Like, come on. I think because this Celeb Jets account is like getting hot. Like, okay, here's like, people have accused me of being on Tree Payne's payroll because I'm like a little skeptical of Taylor. And I think Taylor had this relationship with this other model. Not at the same time, though. So you could have had both. I think she probably hooked up with Carly. Like, I'm there for it, but like there's this other model that I'm even more convinced of.
It's Lily, right?
Yeah, Lily Donaldson. Tilly. Go to Tilly Nation on Tumblr for more information.
Also, can you explain for the listeners who Tree Payne is?
Oh, it's Taylor's publicist. Sorry. So people have accused me of being on her paycheck because like her payroll because like, oh, I downplay Kaylor. But I don't downplay Kaylor. I'm just like, well, Carly is married to a man with a baby with him now. So take that for that's just the truth. So like, I don't think, I'm skeptical of that it was maybe like a monogamous. I think it was more like a fling, like a messy, like, oh, you've got a boyfriend, I've got a boyfriend, but we're like obsessed with each other and we're making out, hooking up, and I'm writing love songs about you, but it's confusing and it's messy. And like, that sounds a lot more believable to me than like they were monogamous love in true love girlfriends for 4 years, even though for 2 of them they didn't hang out, and it just doesn't work for me. So people accuse me of being on Tree Payne's payroll, and it's like, no, like I'm just out here making content, and I feel like Celeb Jets on Twitter is just out. I think they're just out there like trying to make content, trying to like entertain their fans, like trying to bring the facts to the people, and I don't think Kris Jenner had anything to do with it.
That's so fair, because this again was the time that they got the most buzz, so maybe like I'll just do like a listicle, like I'll just do some.
Well, I think they probably have been working on that for a while, and then buzz like started to really come up around the Kylie stuff, and they said this is time to drop it.
Yeah, and fair enough, because it blew up.
Maybe we should reach out for comment.
Literally, because I've followed Celeb Jets from like day one. I was like a day one follower. Mm-hmm. I've been reporting with them for months, like just because it's so fascinating.
We should get Celeb Jets on the pod.
Literally, but I'm like, are you like anon? Well, I guess you are too.
I'm fully anonymous, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Maybe I'll reach out for comment.
You should reach out for comment.
Okay, I'm going to.
Celeb Jets, come on the pod.
So, Celeb Jets posted that Taylor had taken 170 flights in 7 months, which is pretty egregious. And then Taylor's team, so I guess Tree Payne included,
my girlfriend,
released a statement saying that she loans her private jet out to people, so it's not her fault.
But that's even worse, because
that's so much worse. Here's
the thing. Taylor Swift herself should always be flying private. That's a safety issue and a convenience issue. And I think, particularly for the safety, but I also think Taylor's earned herself some convenience. Like like the planet's kind of fucked anyway. So like whatever. But well, I have a rant about that I put on my Patreon, but I'll share a little bit with you guys. But like first and foremost, Taylor should always fly private. She has to. It's very much a safe. You cannot have Taylor Swift on a fucking southwestern air flight. I was about to say southeastern. Taylor cannot fly Delta. It's just not going to happen. Like it's not. It would not be safe for her or for the people who would like shit themselves into a tizzy. Like that's just not good for anyone. She does need to be on a private jet, and she can afford one. Great. Nobody else in her circle needs to be flying on it. Like literally anybody else in her circle can fly business class, first class, wear a mask, because that's like very commonplace on airplanes now. So like even people who have their faces out there like Andrea or Joe, like Now, if Taylor needs to take the jet, everyone should pile in with her. I don't know if Taylor's heard of carpooling. Taylor needs to jet pool. Actually, celebs should start doing that, like jet pooling.
Okay, so that's what I was thinking, because I was like, you're right. I wrote in the outline, like, can celebrity safety ever justify using a private jet with the climate crisis? And you're right. I think, like, or like presidents and stuff like that. Like,
yeah,
it is a safety concern for sure. But then I was thinking, well, how could they make this a bit less problematic? Because I was thinking, like, I was following Celeb Jets when the Kourtney Kardashian wedding was happening, and they like took 3 private jets to Italy. And I was like, I feel like most of you could have gotten on one flight, or not taken like a private jet that only has like 10 seats. You could just charter a commercial flight and put all 100 people on your flight, all your makeup people, your hair people, your friends, family, like all of that shit. So I was like, that would be just better. It's still not great, obviously, but I don't know what the solution is.
I just think, I don't have a broader solution for the climate crisis either.
But
like,
we're going to solve it today.
But like, Taylor is, I think, justified in taking a private jet when she needs to travel long distances. I think there should be more effort on her part to take cars, though, when possible. And also, nobody else needs to fly private. Like, she should not be giving the jet out to like Joe's friends who literally gift them first class tickets. That's still a fine experience. Yeah. Like, but like, everybody else on her team just needs to be jumping on flights that have many people on them. And when Taylor flies, everybody jump in with her. But like, Joe even does not need to be on the private jet. Like, so I'm sympathetic that it's a safety issue for her. She literally has stalkers. Like, an airport is a public place. Like, who knows what nonsense could go down. I do believe, she needs that a private jet. Like, there would be like, I'm sure her stalkers would like start buying plane tickets in bulk, just riding back and forth between like Nashville and New York City, like just trying to catch her on one. You know what I mean?
Or London to Nashville or something.
Right.
Yeah. 100%.
So, but nobody else. Like, it's not okay that she lends it out to people who don't even need a private jet. Like, I'm sure it's a great experience. I'm sure it's fun for her to kind of flex that and like be generous, kind of quote unquote generous, to like give that to friends and stuff. But that is not, there's no reason for it. That's hurting the climate with no like Taylor safety. Okay, fair enough. That's just her flexing and like kind of showing off. And like, I'm sure it's a lovely experience to ride on Taylor's jet, but like,
of course,
so she just needs to not lend it out to people and use it less.
A few days later, she was coming out of her private jet with the umbrella. Yeah. You've seen those pictures, obviously.
I have, yes.
They are so funny. Like, I'm going to write a note to include these in like the episode show notes, but they're just so fucking funny.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is, she's done this before. Like, you can tell when Taylor doesn't want to be papped because she doesn't get papped. And like, the only place they can like catch her is the airport, because that's a public information, like when her plane is flying and up in the air, so they can go to the airport and,
at like, Celebrity Jets.
At Celeb Jets on Twitter. Come on the pod. But so she will ruin those pictures by putting a umbrella over her face. But it is very funny that it just like, she kind of has done that many times, but they were really trying to catch her because like this news had come out of her using the jet. And it just is like this disaster of like, the world is such a funny place that this pop star has to like walk around with an umbrella on her head so she's not pictured, because she's just single-handedly destroying the planet. But like, my further rant about it is like, this isn't great. Like, Taylor, do better. But like, the world is already fucked. Like, are we not past the point of no return where like billions of people's lives will be affected, and it's just going to be that way, and rich people will move north, and they're going to live in Canada and Alaska, and they'll be fine, and everybody else, or Russia even, and everybody else is just fry. You're going to have billions of people that they're going to run out of water, agriculture is going to be fucked, and like billions of people will die basically, eventually, like in the next 100 years, and we're just done. And it's just, the rich people have decided that the few extra dollars of burning fossil fuels and like not, getting some extra profits in their giant, multinational corporations is worth it. The boomers, they're going to die soon anyway. They want a few more dollars and then they're going out. And they just decided they decided for us. And it's just, there's nothing we can do about it. Am I wrong? Am I being negative? Like,
no, like I'm laughing, but to stop myself from crying.
Exactly.
But yeah, like, do I think that it's hopeless to just give up? No, like I'm gonna continue with like my plastic straw or my paper straw.
You're gonna continue with your plastic straw usage because
I get called out. I get canceled.
Wait, where's like celeb podcast straw usage on Twitter?
Yeah,
you'll be like
plastics.
number 1 podcast plastic usage.
Like literally, but. Yeah, like I'm still gonna try, but I know it does feel hopeless. And like also a lot of people were talking about how like again we are shining the light on like a few individuals, in this case 10, when corporations and businesses are still the majority of polluters and stuff. So again, like I don't know. It's
not a great move by her, but there's just so much worse. And it's just like, I can't spend that mad. And like, I am like, Taylor, do better. Yes, Taylor, do better. But like, I'm over it so fast because like, Taylor's doing nothing compared to like what fucking ExxonMobil and like Apple and, every, the Shein. Corporation. Yes. Fast fashion, like that is just truly destroying the earth for like a few extra dollars.
Yeah, and totally.
And they're not going to stop. So
totally. So Taylor was called out here. She's been called out in the past for other things. Does she ever like take accountability or apologize or like change her actions? That's
I feel like
a
few times.
Okay.
I feel like she like started like whining about Nicki Minaj for the VMAs in like 2015 or 14, I think 15. And like Nicki was complaining about how racist these award shows are. And Taylor was like, Nicki, don't drag me down. And like, I think Taylor very quickly was kind of corrected, probably maybe internally. And like Nicki was also just like publicly like, I didn't even say your name. Like,
yeah.
And I think Taylor did a little better, maybe taking everything so personally. Like when people complain about systematic discrimination, I think maybe she took a little bit of a lesson there.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, she did take a lesson in like, she didn't talk about the 2016 election. And it took her years and years to admit that she was like, I guess, a Democrat. But she did eventually change that status, and she has commented, okay, let's vote. Let's get registered to vote. She's maybe, I wouldn't say her activism is like the best in the world, but I think it's an improvement on her part. So I think she has taken some notes and improved some things. But a lot of the time, Taylor very much likes to frame herself as a victim. But I think Taylor's more in touch than a lot of people that are worth like $600 million or however much she's worth. Like, I think, it's not all bad with her, and she has like turned some things around, but sometimes I think she's a bit thin skinned, and I don't know that that's improved much over the years.
Yeah, that's so fair. She is currently embroiled in a lawsuit for, oh my God, Shake It Off.
Yeah. Which is like,
which is so funny because that's arguably her worst song.
It's just like, Taylor, leave it off the re-record. Just let him have it. Leave it off.
It's so fucking bad. So people are saying that it is delaying the release of 1989 Taylor's version because the girl group, songwriters for the girl group 3LW is suing Taylor for the use of like players gonna play, the haters gonna hate. I'm not gonna sing on the podcast. She used those lyrics. She denies ever knowing of the band 3LW or their song Players Gonna Play, which included the lyrics players they gonna play and haters they gonna hate.
Yeah, I mean, this the thing is, this thing got dismissed and now it's come back, and it's just like, I wouldn't care, except that it is holding up the 1989 re-record. And as a Swiftgron, that is a very important album to us.
Yes, your bread and butter.
That is my bread and butter. Like, I will probably do a Patreon episode every day of the week. That's what we did when Red came out. We did a Patreon episode like every day of the week that Red came out. It was insane.
That's so fun.
It's the most fun. You'll have to come on. Next time we get Taylor anything, I'm going to be doing so many. I'm going to have like 15 bonus episodes to do. You'll have to come on. But, you know, it is personally very inconvenient for me to have Taylor's music delayed. So I wish they would wrap this up. I just think this terminology has been in use for a long time. Players are going to play, you know, haters are going to hate. Haters are going to hate. That, like, haters going to hate has been a thing that everyone has said for as long as I can remember. I wish they would wrap it up. It just kind of, you know, it goes to show like the legal and like paperwork side of the music industry is so miserable. I feel like
is so miserable. So you're right. They originally sued her in 2017. It was dismissed in 2018 and reversed in 2019. Now it's delayed to 2023. So do you think she's gonna release like her first album?
I actually think, and this is like a crack theory I'm on, but y'all got to go with me. I think Reputation will be the next re-record we get. And it's not even able to be released until like November of this year because you had to wait there had to be 5 years after they were first released. So all the albums but Reputation were good to go starting in like 2020 when she started like doing it. But then or 2021, sorry. But Reputation, we've had to wait. And I actually think she's got it almost like, I feel like it's going to come before. I could be wrong. I mean, I think Speak Now is caught up in a lawsuit as well. But I think Debut she wants to do last.
Right.
And so I think like Speak Now is caught up in a lawsuit too. I'm not sure about what, but I think Reputation's coming soon. I have like a reason for it, but I can't say the reason, but I do think it's coming soon. And I also think we'll get TS10 in 2023 and we'll get a tour.
Yeah, I'm not sure about the tour, but I definitely think we'll get TS10. So I think there will be new music. But I am sad about the re-recordings of 1989 because it's such a good album. So, okay, it's just been like, I don't know, the summer of queer love. We got your favorite couple, like your
girls.
your girls, Haley Kiyoko and Becca Tilley, did a hard launch of their relationship in Haley's music video for the girls, which was Bachelor themed, which was the show that Becca Tilley was on. What a career for Becca Tilley. Like, I've watched both her Bachelor seasons. Obviously loved her. Her podcast is really fun. And they've just been posting like content after content. And it's the kind of content that you watch and you're just like a single tear falls down your cheek. Yes.
I mean, it's so beautiful. Like the little hype video, I don't know, fan cam that Becca posted about Haley, like the day after the music video came out, where I think she did say like, I guess it's a hard launch or something like that. It's so cute. And it's just like, it's so funny because people have been shipping them for so long and we'd love to see the gay girls get it right. And their content is just like teeth breakingly sweet. Like, you know, when you bite into something sweet and it like hurts the back of your mouth, it's like that. It's like crazy.
It really is. Like, that's the exact, like, I watched that video again, like 100 times, but like, I was screaming into a pillow. Like for sure. It's too cute. So all the best to those girls. Selena, recently, I feel like, I guess
a couple days ago almost.
Yeah, like super close to this recording date. It was kind of coming out, but kind of confirming that she's bi. She was just talking with some friends on like an interview, something for YouTube. I feel like she's all over YouTube nowadays. And someone mentioned like, I don't know, the loving touch of a man, and she was just like, or woman.
Yeah, and then she does like kind of try and giggle and play it off like it's a joke after, but it very obviously like wasn't. Like, and Selena has said stuff about her sexuality before. She's admitted to questioning her sexuality. She said she enjoys being shipped with women. There are rumors about her and Carla Delevingne, which I am a truther. I do think they hooked up in 2015. And Inti had some blinds about that, but I've heard tea about it too. They were like out on a boat. Like I think you can see them showering together and kissing. Yeah. So like, yes. Yeah. But yeah, she just is very casually giving this interview. The interviewer is like talking about love language, and Selena says, "I think mine is touch." And the interviewer goes, "Oh, so you want the touch of a man?" And she's like, "Or a woman." And then she's like, "Haha." But no, like it comes out so genuinely, like, "Or a woman," like, or a woman, like, you know, like she's like really trying to like assert her sexuality and like her bisexuality. And I just like, yeah, like Selena's bi, and we've known this, but it's, you know, good times. And she also, the problem is she also came out as straight, because when she kissed Cara Delevingne in that fucking TV show, it's the nastiest, like closed mouth, like Cara's given it everything she's got, and of course Cara's not a great actor, but like Selena is a dead animal, like laying in the street, hit by a truck on that kiss. It's so pathetic. So like Selena's expressing her sexuality in many different ways.
I'm fucking dead. Why was that the worst kiss ever?
It was
when they're
such a
like
downer.
two of the most beautiful women,
And they've literally fucked in real life.
They've literally fucked in real life. And that the show, like, it's not like it's a PG show. Mm-mm. Per se. I haven't watched it, but it's about murder. So, yeah. And isn't it on HBO?
It's on Hulu, so they can
so
show
they
naked
can
bodies and say the F word.
And it was so chaste, and I didn't like either of their facial like expressions, and I was very sad about it.
I feel like Selena was like really trying to play it down because she actually is hot for Cara. They have like matching tattoos. Like they spent a lot of time in 2015 together, and Selena was like on and off with Justin at the time. And I feel like when she and Justin would break out, she would go hook up with Cara to like make him jealous and like, you know, and also just like go express herself too. And like, I think they're very close friends, but I feel like Selena was like, okay, I need to really like just fucking ruin, like, I'm gonna act like her lips are like a raw chicken thigh. I'm just gonna smear my face across. It's like the worst kiss I've ever think, because she knew if it was too good, I would have been too personally happy about it. So she couldn't let me have that.
She was like,
these girls,
yeah,
they hate to see me win, but
I'm fucking dead. But that's kind of like what it seemed like. Like it was like too many headlines will be written about this, so I'm just gonna make it.
I'm gonna flop it.
Yeah, it was such a flop. And I was like, you must have done that scene like a few times, and this was the only take you could use.
I also feel like that show is not that good. Like, I don't, like, I boomers really, really like it because it has a lot of boomer bait. Like, it's always like the old guy and he's trying to use the cell phone and he can't figure it out. And boomers like, so relatable.
Yeah. And
that's what's made it so popular. Is just like, I think boomers, and that's why it's like the best rated show on Rotten Tomatoes now, or like which is insane. It's a fine show.
Yeah.
It's like fine, but it's not that good, but it's boomer bait. And then I feel like Selena was probably like, well, the boomers don't want me to really tongue it up in there either. So and like the showrunner and like whoever directed the episode, like the editors were probably like, okay, use one of the more chaste ones. Like, I'm sure there is a take. Like, where is the extended scene or like the deleted scene where they're like scenes. Going at it?
Yeah, literally. And I feel like Selena also, not that she doesn't want to be associated with Cara, but like, I feel like her good girl image, people forget about her friendship / relationship with Cara.
Mm-hmm. Possibly.
Because Cara's such a party girl, and so is Selena, but no one associates her with that.
Yeah, I mean, Selena does have a very squeaky clean image, and she kind of has to. But I don't think she is. I don't think she's like crazy, but I don't think she's that squeaky clean too. I think getting away from Justin was good for her. No offense to like Magdalena's out there.
Oh no, 100%. Like I know that was like the most toxic relationship ever, and I like still ship it. It's
I was listening to
problematic.
She came on my Taylor Swift Spotify radio with that "Look at Her Now" song, and I love Selena. Like I do. I don't know why, but she's like. I just feel like she's kind of like got an underdog vibe compared to like Taylor, who just like succeeds at everything and wins every award. Like Selena is not in Grammy consideration, but I'm still pulling for her. You know what I mean? But I heard that I was like, look at her now. Like,
look at her now.
Look at her now. She's
making out with Cara.
She's straight passing on television, but then outs herself in an interview.
Fucking dead. Speaking of getting outed, this was like a huge headline in June, but it got quickly like as the news moves,
Mm-hmm.
quickly passed over. But Rebel Wilson came out. She's dating Ramona Agruma.
I think she's like a businesswoman.
Yes, maybe Australian businesswoman.
I think she's American. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay,
I could
okay.
be wrong.
But she felt forced to announce that she was dating Ramona because a newspaper in Sydney, the Sydney Morning Herald, was threatening to out her in an article if she didn't.
Right. So like Rebel comes out on Instagram on like a random Thursday or something.
Yeah.
And we're all so happy because I was just like, oh my gosh, like I don't know if you've ever seen Pitch Perfect or watched like some of the press from that. Pitch Perfect's like kind of one of my things though. And
Yes.
Rebel was always shipping with Chloe.
Yes,
always,
I was
like,
such a Bill Chloe
oh my
girl.
God, girl. You should read my Chloe fanfic sometime. That's a real thing that exists. Rebel was like always like, oh, Becca and Chloe. She was saying that fucking Australian accent. And I was just like, oh my God, like that's why, like Rebel's bi, like
Yeah.
that's so great. And so she comes out on Instagram, everybody's celebrating, Pitch Perfect fandom celebrates, everybody celebrates because like Rebel's like an icon and like here she is, like coming out as queer. And then like the next day, the Sydney Morning Herald like posts this article about like, well, we were gonna out Rebel, and then she did it on Instagram for us. And like people on Twitter sort of were like reading their papers, I guess. Like Australians were like, wait, what the fuck is this? And posted about it. And it's just like this, and it's a fucking gay guy that wrote the article. And he was basically like, well, we reached out to Rebel to comment, and she snookered the story from us or something. Like she slumped he used some weird word. She like got the drop on us and came out on her own terms. How dare she? And it was like very fucked up that like in this day and age, like these powerful writers at this big paper were gonna out her. They reached out for comment, and then Rebel validly and very pettily, in my imagination, in my mind, very pettily, she was like, it's coming from me then. Like if you guys are gonna force me out, which is so sad. But
yeah.
She said something like, I was always looking for a prince and I needed a princess or something, and posted a picture of
it was sweet.
Yeah.
And it seems like they're like living their best lives. Like now they post quite regularly on social
traveling
media.
About.
Traveling everywhere and
hot and rich. I was about to say young, but Rebel's like 40, but she looks good.
Yeah, just doing a bunch of rich stuff. Like that's for sure their vibe.
Right.
But yeah, just so ugly. And yeah, I think sometimes people forget that this type of stuff still happens a lot. And well, something that I kind of wanted to talk about, because a lot of people are just like, well, why don't these celebs just come out? And well, sometimes they're getting threatened by newspapers. But one of my listeners, Elizabeth at Hermit Power, was asking about queerbaiting in pop culture, which we were talking about before we hit record.
Yeah.
But specifically around celebs using queer iconography, etc., imagery, blah, 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 to sell a product if they aren't already out. I'm sure you talk a lot about this on your podcast, but what are your thoughts?
I think they can do it and we get to call them gay.
Yes, like Taylor.
Right. Like, because I'm like, if a straight person were to do, say, like a lot, maybe some of what Harry Styles does with some of his music and his iconography, as your listener said, like, or what Taylor did with the Lover Era. If they're straight and they're doing that, that is horrible. I'm not for that. But you can't, since people like closeting is a thing that exists and we're all sort of born closeted, sadly. I mean, maybe not exactly, but you know what I mean? Like, that's a social thing we have to deal with.
Yes.
I think that's fine. But to me, that's actually, that is them coming out. They're saying, I, as an artist, have the right to profit off this iconography. Why am I saying it weird now? Why have I don't know,
but it's the worst word. Like,
this imagery.
Just say imagery. Yeah.
Yes. Great minds. I, as a celeb, an artist, have a right to profit off this imagery. To me, that's them. That's the same as them saying, I am queer.
Yeah.
And so if they're not queer, I'm going to call you gay. Like, and then it's okay because you're gay. So Taylor Swift, bisexual, great. Use that bi flag in however many wigs you want. Harry Styles, you know, pansexual nymphomaniac. No, I don't know. Like, now I'm just saying words. But like, use that imagery all you want because you're gay and I'm going to call you gay. And if you're not gay, you shouldn't be using it. And if you didn't use it, I wouldn't call you gay. But you do, so I will. That's your payment, is that I get to have a podcast where I call you gay.
I was listening to a podcast about High School Musical the other day, and they were talking about Ryan, Sharpay's brother, because Kenny Ortega, like a decade after the movie came out, was like, yeah, Ryan was probably queer-coded. And then Lucas Grabeel, the actor, was like, well, if I knew that he was gay at the time, as a straight person, I wouldn't have chosen to play him.
Wait, that dude is straight?
Yes!
Oh, come on, girl.
Okay, but then he was in the Harvey Milk movie.
Wait a minute. Now, hang on. Hold on. Because the issue here is, so that was just fun acting choices that that dude made as a straight man?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound right to me.
I know. I was like, also the chemistry between Lucas and Corbin in the second movie didn't feel like acting to me.
Didn't feel like acting even. Yeah. I think we should get them on for comment because I don't believe that. I would
honestly, I could probably get it on this podcast. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. He's thriving somewhere.
I mean, pulling for him, but
yeah.
I don't know that I'm picking up what he's putting down with that.
Anyways, that was so tangential, but I was just thinking about that.
He's like, if I had known he was queer, sweetie, you played that boy as a slur. That was,
Oh my God. Oh, so fucking funny. Anything else you want to say about queer news this summer?
Yeah, let's talk about how all the idea that Taylor was going to come out during the Lover era. So that is a theory that many people have had. Guys, I have a deep dive on this on my podcast. It's called I Would Bet Money That She Was going to Come Out During the Lover Era, because I would. So I've heard tea on this, but there's also all the stuff she did. And just this summer, like a matter of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Let me tell you about one theory that we think we got confirmed. So there's a designer called Christian Siriano.
Yes.
And he's like a gay guy designer. He's, designer to the stars. And for Pride in 2019, he made this beautiful rainbow dress that had these nude panels, whatever. It was this pretty rainbow dress. And he posted to Twitter, and he used 7 rainbow emojis. And he was like, guess who's going to be wearing this at DC Pride, And everybody's like, oh, who's it going to be? Who's it going to be? Now, this is during the Lover era. So you have to understand, Taylor Swift has been doing all this weird gay stuff. And Lover was her 7th album. And she was using emojis all era to signal stuff. So people thought the 7 emojis, that's Taylor's thing, 7 emojis. She did the 7 palm trees. She did I think she put 182 emojis up on Twitter one day, which was 182 days before the first single drop, whatever. She was doing emoji coding, which is I can't believe I have space in my brain that remembers all of this. Sometimes while I'm podcasting, I freak out a little bit. And I'm I can't believe I know all this stuff. Anyway.
Also, I can't believe she was using as basic. Now she has such complicated stuff as emojis.
It was those were the days where the code was simple. But I don't think Taylor does anything that complicated these days. I think it's always been simple. And Swifties look for more complicated codes and then they never come true. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So Christian's posting about this dress, who's going to wear it. He's teasing people. Oh, who's it going to be? He posted on Instagram. And then the big Pride parade in DC comes and Billy Porter, who is a black man, wears it. And it looks great on him. It's fine. But it looks, a lot of people notice this is weird because it has these nude modesty panels on the sides that those panels were made for a white person.
Right.
So that's something interesting that people are wait a minute. And at one point or another, somebody photoshops Taylor into the dress when it was on a mannequin. They put Taylor into it. And Christian either reposts it to his Instagram or he comments on it or he likes it. He interacts with this fan art that somebody's done Photoshop. Oh yes, this is so great. That happened sometime in 2019 as well, after the parade. And everybody's sort of okay, Taylor was so weird. And then there was rumors she was going to come out. All these rumors start circulating that she's going to come out. And I've heard them from every which way, from like confirmed, like vetted sources who are like, this was going to happen. And here's who I talked to that like this, that worked on the project that, you know, she was allegedly going to come out in like a Rolling Stones article. But, you know, grain of salt, of course, grain of salt with gossip. But, you know, that was like the tea floating around, and people thought Christian was teasing it by posting the Photoshop picture of her in the dress. Well, a couple weeks ago on TikTok, this random Gaylor account with like not a ton of followers, just like a Gaylor that's out there making content, posts about the dress. Somebody asks him about it, and he answers the question to like explain like, okay, what everything I just explained. So he explains everything I just explained. Here's the dress, here's the theory, like blah blah blah. Christian on his blue check TikTok account duets the video, puts the camera up so it's looking at the dress, and then as the user starts explaining the theory, he walks over to the dress holding a teacup and a saucer. And as the user says, like, and she was going to come out, Christian sips the tea. People see it. Gaylor start freaking out. Swifties start freaking out. He gets bullied into taking it down. But, like, he basically confirmed, in my opinion, that's, like, gay man for, like, yeah, that's tea. You're right. And he deleted it. He didn't say, no, guys, it's just a joke. Like, no, guys, I'm just messing around with the fans. He just deleted it without comment.
That's so wild.
Like, he basically said, yes, Taylor was going to come out and wear my dress. And we think he's always been petty about it because he was going to get to be part of this huge, you know, monumental pop culture moment.
Yeah, it obviously didn't go that way. And yeah.
He's mad about it.
Yeah, because it would have been like photographed 1,000,000 times.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, his name would have been written in the history books.
Yes.
You know?
That is so interesting. Is there footage of that? Like, did someone screen capture it?
I've got it on video. Yeah. I can send it to you.
Yes, please. I need to see that.
I mean, people were like triggered by, like, I posted on Twitter, and people like complained and said, like, she's being outed. You have to delete this. And I did, but like, no, calm down. Like, she's not, but she kind of is. But like, she's like, the thing is if what you say, like your little TikTok or your little podcast, your little, you know, master post theory, if it doesn't prompt a celeb to pull a Rebel Wilson and post their Instagram and say, yeah, like, then it's not outing somebody. It's just fan theories. It's just gossip. So like, that's kind of my, like, we can see very clearly, like, Rebel Wilson was going to be outed, and like the response that prompted.
Yeah. And like you said before, when celebs are using queer imagery and profiting off of that, like, I think they do open themselves up to like some speculation.
Right. Like, I used to refuse to talk about Shawn Mendes, but then because he didn't like it, but then he started posting himself all wrapped up in rainbow flags and talking about how confused he was. Right. So we just did a deep dive on Shawn Mila.
Yeah. Yes. That was such a good episode.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. Love that. Definitely send it to me. I won't repost, but I definitely want to see it.
DM it around though, because
Okay, but this is something I actually have always wanted to talk about on my podcast, but never kind of had the outlet. But we wanted to talk about family TikTokers, or basically just use the D Dozen as a kind of case study for any type of family TikToker, or, you know, parents that use their kids in TikToks or YouTube videos. But family went viral. I remember first seeing it. The mom specifically, I think her name is Alicia, went viral for a TikTok that was posted about her morning routine. It was called Mom of 12 Morning Routine. And it shows her getting up at like 5 a.m. and making 12 like breakfasts and lunches for her 12 kids. So she has a husband. They have 4 kids that they like biologically birthed, and then they have 8 that they adopted or are fostering currently, but it is just like spiraled out of control, as family TikTokers always do. Do you like regularly watch their content, or are you just on like the snark pages?
I just discovered them, so I have not done a deep dive, but I've always been a bit obsessed, like in a dark way, like in a like, oh no, this isn't great. Like, I don't know if you remember, like a long time ago, like 5-10 years even, there was like a YouTube channel called like Daddy of Five, and it was literally just this dude abusing his kids for views, like the darkest shit. Like CPS got involved, like he would like prank them. There was one in particular who was sort of like the redheaded stepchild, like that they would just brutally, like the mental games, like they would like mess up his room and then bring him to the room and be like, why'd you mess up your room? You're grounded. You're in so much trouble. And like the kid lost his mind. Like the kid went crazy and like had to be removed from the house because he was being abused. And this guy was like making tons of money off YouTube. And I've just, ever since then, I've just been like, oh no. So whenever I see people, even if they seem wholesome, like profiting off children, I get nervous about it. So I just saw this lady like 3 days ago and quickly got like a quick, like, I don't know about you, but when I like get interested in something, I have to be obsessed with it for at least a matter of hours.
Yeah,
so like
me too.
Did a brief obsession deep dive, like a chill 6 hour, like, let me watch every TikTok they have and read the subreddit real quick. And so like I know the basics, but I will say one thing I like about them is that like only 4 of the kids are biologically theirs, because I start to get a little nervous when they're like, yeah, we had 10 children, we had 14 children, we had 20, and I'm like, oh, I'm getting Duggar vibes. Don't like that, because I know what goes down in that house.
Yes.
Child abuse for anyone.
Again, I don't know why I'm laughing. I think it's just because
it's a nervous reaction.
Yeah,
I do this. Yes. Like sometimes like you get a little uncomfortable, like what else do you do? But like laugh a little bit.
Yeah.
I've always done that as well. So, I did like, okay, they didn't, bring all these children into the world biologically.
Yeah.
But it's still just like, okay, so these are vulnerable children that have been placed in these people's care, like due to bad circumstances with their home, and it's just, oh, I don't know that these like precious vulnerable children need to be this lady's meal ticket. Now, I'll also say from the TikToks, I haven't watched like YouTube's. And so people on the Reddit say like on the lives, like sometimes she's ignoring the kids, and everybody says she drinks too much because she does these grocery hauls and she's always getting like 6 cases of White Claw. But, I don't know.
Again, I don't know why I'm laughing, but yeah, it'll be like her grocery bill and then it'll be like $350 of booze. And you're like, maybe don't post that.
I know. Well, I'm like, just get the White Claw on a different run, lady. Like, you don't have to video it. Like, you're the executive producer of your TikTok channel. You don't have to show everybody the White Claw, but she chooses to. I mean, I don't know, like, but her grocery bills are insane. They're like $1,400. Like, she just gets so much shit. It's crazy. But it's like, I can understand like why it's so fun to watch, because like as Americans, particularly Americans, but like I guess lots of people, but Americans really like excess. And we're just like, yeah, make 15 sandwiches. Oh, just do it with the peanut butter. Like, we love that shit. So, like, people are, like, crazy for her content. But here's the one weird thing I've stumbled onto. There is a theory that she's faking being up at 5 a.m.
I know, and I love this theory so much.
Which
this
is so
why
funny.
I love the internet, because it's so fucking funny.
So, like, the evidence at first that all I could find was, like, it looks light out when she's, like, doing the breakfast morning routine, making the banana breads, making the pancakes, like whatever. And people say, oh, it's too dark. Like, I guess they have an idea of where they live, like somewhere in New Jersey, maybe, or it's up in the Northeast somewhere. And they say, oh no, like it's too bright. It would be darker. And I'm like, well, y'all don't know exactly, like, depending on where you live in the state, like maybe because time zones are funny, and like maybe I'm stupid because New Jersey is so small, but like in Tennessee, there's like 3 different time zones in the state, basically, like almost,
Right.
Like when you get to longer states. So like I'm kind of like, I don't know, guys. But then on a YouTube live once, her husband, she says something, and I think he thinks she asked for the time, and like everybody knows that he had been on his phone. like he had been seen like walking around on his phone, like texting or like doing something. And he goes, it's 6:38. And she goes, no. And she looks back to her clock that she has set that you can see like above her stove. So you can always see, oh, she's up at 5 a.m. And she's like, no. And she looks back at the clock and she's like, it's 5:25. And he's like, oh, sorry. And it's just like, he was on his phone. Wouldn't he know what time it was? Like, and then after I saw that, I was like, oh, she is faking it. And so a lot of people think that she might be even doing that, like that big cook at like 6 p.m. Like,
yeah.
Now it still could be the morning and she's just saying it's 5 a.m. to be a little more impressive.
Yeah.
But a lot of people say it's like it's done at 6 p.m. and it's all for show. Like she just does it whenever she has time. And like they're not eating the food. Like it goes to it. And so I don't know if I believe that. I mean, what do you think? Do you think this is just like it's a little later and she's just trying to be impressive? Or do you think this is like all a facade?
I think she is faking it just because I feel like everyone on TikTok is faking it. Like the girls that like get up at 5 a.m. to like fucking journal for an hour and then work out and then meditate and then get ready for work. Like I just don't believe that you're doing that. Or maybe I'm just a piece of shit that struggles to wake up early in the morning.
We just like see like people with successful behaviors and habits and we're like, well, that's fake. Nobody can be awake before 7:45 a.m.
Yeah,
that's like not a genetic possibility.
Mentally well, I'm like that's like impossible.
We just see people like who have like a healthy sleep schedule and like mental wellness, and we're like, well, that they're faking that. That's a Hollywood movie set. Just like the moon landing. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, but like actually, like maybe I am just a hater.
Yes,
but I think also on the internet nowadays, you can't just be like, I get up at 7 a.m. My kids get up at 8 and I make these lunches for you. You have to be like, I wake up at 5 a.m. like with the birds and like you have to stand out in that way. So like,
I think she maybe used to wake up at 5 and then she got TikTok famous and they make like $50,000 a month from like paid and product placement and stuff like that. She does ads all the time. Plus YouTube views, all of that. She's making like 50 grand a month. Like, so I feel like once you start making 50 grand a month, like, I'm surely she's just sleeping all day. Like, that's, I say this as a piece of shit who's like, well, if I made that much money, I would never get out of bed. Like, maybe we're just telling on ourselves right now.
Literally. I also wrote, like, the money's definitely not going to their clothes budget. Yeah, where they're like home aesthetic, like.
No, it's not. And it's and the other thing, here's a big thing. They're always using paper plates, which of course, that's very Taylor Swift of them. Not great for the planet. Taylor Swift, climate criminal.
Yeah. And like at Celeb Plastics,
at Celeb paper products. Get the Dougherty, whatever they are, get them Celeb paper products usage. But they said, well, there's like a septic tank issue in the house, so like we can't do dishes. Oh, now the dishwasher's broken. But the funny thing is, every time she mentions something being broken, somebody buys it for her. So
I know, it's very Ace Family.
Yeah.
Very like, oh, well, the website was down and then this is why this didn't go right because this, and like, yeah, right. Sure, those things happen, but I don't trust these mega families because why can't they just have a life in peace?
Well, because they wouldn't be making $50,000 a month. And then you start thinking like, well, what would you do for $50,000 a month? You'd fake a breakfast haul. You'd make you'd throw some banana bread in the trash. You would. Now, I guess she could be like cooking it and then, saving it and they just microwave it the next morning. I don't know. But I also feel like, come on, if you're making 50. But I mean, here's the thing. I think she can't be like, are they saving for college? Because if they're saving for college, they're going to need 50 grand a month for a while. So yes. But if it's just me, it's just like, God, I would live in a bigger house with help.
That's the thing is like, okay. But also I was thinking with the paper plates, like 12 plates for a normal dishwasher would fill the whole bottom. So like, I get that, but you're right. Like,
but why doesn't she just run the dishwasher once a day? Like,
after every meal. Yeah, you're right. Like, I would hire a chef or like a meal delivery kit or something.
Well, and
Fuck,
they
I
do
don't know.
like sometimes they like Uber Eats Taco Bell at the end of the night, and it's just like this huge pile of tacos. But and then a lot of people, here's what I like some of the snarking. I like that they like rooted out. She's not up at 5 a.m. I like that they're keeping up with like her, at Celeb Paper Plates, like do it. But people comment about like the nutritional content of the food. And then I'm like, can we just not be weird about food? Can we stop talking about other people's food? Like,
oh my God. 100%. Like everyone was like, I saw the comments and it was
she feeds the kids slop. And it's like, they're usually decently balanced meals. Like there's always a fruit and veggie.
Yeah. She adds like a fucking bagged chips. And
right. It's not
people
that
are
bad.
calling her like the worst mom ever. I'm like,
yeah.
Again, if you had 12 kids, you would be giving your kids packaged food because you can't make everything homemade and keep up with. Especially it's not like her kids are all under the age of 5. Some of them are like 16.
Right.
Like they're eating adult-sized meals.
Well, the one thing is all the kids get the same portion sizes. So that is a bit
that
weird.
Was
like
another
16-year-old is going to need more than that's another call out. But again, can we not comment on people's food?
100%. And like also people on the internet have gotten so psycho and like me too, but it's
same.
Like to think of that, to look at because I have watched now dozens, a dozen amount of her videos. And like, I didn't think that the portions were different because it looks like not aesthetic, but like it looks, she's doing everything evenly.
Yeah, she does, which is probably like a little less food than the big kids need and a little more food than the little kids need. But they have like a huge snack situation. She makes these snack boards. But also like they can just like I'm sure the kid like I think the big kids like just go get an extra bonus meal, which you need that when you're a teen, so who cares? But like the only fun comments I've seen on the food, because most of them like, can we not judge? Like they're eating perfectly nutritious, like let's stop being freaks. Like there's just freaks out there that are like they should be carnivore. They should only be eating animal liver, like, and just, so like, we don't need any of that. But what is one funny thing, I've seen people theorize, like, they do this around the world Mondays where they cook like a different, cultural, they'll do Mexican, they did Hawaiian food, like, so that's fun. And she said like, oh, we're going to do soul food, but then she never posts soul food. And like, there's screenshots of someone commenting like, when are you guys going to do soul food? And then she'll say, oh, we did it last Monday, but I forgot to record it. And it's like, girl, you've never forgotten to record anything in your life. But people say Alicia. People say she's not recording the soul food episodes because she doesn't season her food enough. And like people will have a fit if she puts up soul food that's not properly seasoned. And she's like shy about it. I think that is funny and worthy of comment. But I feel 100%. Like people are too picky. People are like, they should be raw vegan or they should be carnivore. Like, shut up. Like, let kids have some chips and it's fine. Like, they're fine.
Literally, like, let's move on.
Right.
But yeah, I totally agree because she has not ever not had the camera shoved in her
fucking hand. Yeah.
Literally. But like, what I always think about if I have kids in the future, like, will I put them on social media? It's a personal choice for everybody. But like, I don't know. It's really tough to. I feel like I saw some of her videos of her dancing with some of her kids. I was like, this is cute. This is like a fun bonding activity. Like, this is like, but do you need to post it to 1 million people? But then I'm like, but then you're getting this money, which is having that many kids is so expensive. So like, I don't know. I don't know. It's really difficult to like decide what I'd want to do. But like, I just don't think your kids understand or can comprehend what being on social media is. So putting them on there to this extreme, it's different than like a normie like us posting your child to your socials, but like where this is gaining, this is a career for them.
Yeah, I think it's tricky. I do feel like, with like if you're like a normie with like 125 followers on Instagram and you're just like, here's my kid, like I think that's fine. Yeah. I think like posting your kid to Facebook once in a while, just a nice picture, I don't think that's a big deal at all. But here's the problem. And do you know what has been going on? Another TikTok like child star, that Ren child.
Yes.
Who is like the little baby toddler, beautiful little girl. And like it's very like content warning for like child abuse, like things
Yeah.
some people might want to not hear about. But like the theory is like she has such a huge following, and it's like a large percent of like old men.
Yeah.
And like the most searched video of her is like Ren eating a hot dog and like creepy stuff.
Disgusting. I'll put content warnings in the episode show notes, but yeah, and then people were blaming the mom because this was pointed out to her and she like
kept
didn't
on
stop.
posting.
Yeah, she didn't stop the content.
Well, I mean, that lady's making a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it's just like, oh no. Like, oh, this is a fucking Black Mirror turn I didn't think a toddler on TikTok would take. Like,
yeah.
But you know, you expose your child, you expose them to things that, you know, like you don't know who is out there being a creep. So like
100%.
Anyone who says I'm keeping my kids off social media, I'm all for it. Like I think it's fine in small doses, but then even if you're just like a normie on Facebook, you don't know what creepy guy from your high school like is out there keeping an eye out. So
totally. So one of my friends has a 3-year-old that I hang out with a lot, and I always just think like there's sometimes where he doesn't even want to play his favorite game. So I just like think about how do you get so much content with your kid being engaged when like half the time they probably don't want to do this. So that's when I think it's like exploitative too, because it's like if I can't get this 3-year-old to, you know, play trucks when that's like his favorite game every day, like even if they like making videos like one day, like I don't know, just the consistency of it creeps me out, like that the kid feels like they have no choice.
Right. And you just know behind the scenes like these like are like we're making so much money. Like the oldest Dougherty Dozen whatever D-Dozen kid just got a Jeep, brand new Jeep, and you just know he like those kids know like, oh, all this food, all these toys. She goes crazy for their birthdays, which is like really sweet. But like
of course,
all these toys, all this food, cars, college, like everything's an option now because we do these videos. Yeah. And like you just know, I'm sorry, some of these children are, you know, neurodivergent. They're all little, some of them are very young. They're not going to want to do that 24/7. And it's just, it's tough, you know, and I don't think it would be a bad thing for YouTube, TikTok, all of that to just be like, we're not going to monetize family channels. 100%. Why don't they just do that? So if you want to share your kids, great, but you can't you know, it's just.
And people would find workarounds and so, like product stuff and like all of that. But like, I just cannot imagine, like my parents took me to Disneyland when I was like 11 or whatever. Cannot imagine going to Disneyland with my parents and then just them just being like, okay, just wait, before we like get on this ride, you need to like do
a dance on TikTok. Yeah.
Like you need to put on this set of ears and like show people, or like before you eat that ice cream, like you need to tell the listeners like how the viewers how much you want to like eat it or whatever. Like what the fuck? Like I can't imagine.
Yeah. So it's just weird. I'm enjoying like diving in. They've got a good snarker community. There's some weirdos that like hang around the families. So like everybody's keeping up with them. So like they have a subreddit on Reddit, and I would like go look at her grocery hauls or her like her big cooks, because that is fun.
Yeah, it is, like to zoom in on the receipts.
Right. They're always like $1,400, $700 on White Claw. Like, so here we are saying like, oh, this is so horrible. Anyway, here's where you can find it. Good www. Like we're just part of the cycle.
We're feeding the monster.
We are. Whatever.
For sure. Okay, let's move on to Pettyweight Champion of the Week. This is the part of the show where Cam is going to nominate her Pettyweight Champion of the Week, someone in the media who did something petty and it was iconic. Who are you nominating this week?
I mean, I'm just going to go back to my bread and butter and nominate Taylor Swift. Maybe not for this week. I have some like sub nominations. Yeah, for the decade. Yeah. She wins this big decade. Taylor Swift, Pettyweight Champion of the Decade. Yeah. Because let's talk about all the petty things she has done. Dropping guys' names in songs. She was assaulted, and then he sued her, and then she countersued for $1. Then she put that dollar in a music video.
Queen.
Naming her the giant snake on making an entire snake era after Kim Kardashian like called her a snake one time and naming the snake Karen with a K after Kim on her tour. She had a giant like 700-foot tall snake that she named after Kim Kardashian, basically, which is insane to me. What else has she done? The re-records. Literally the most petty thing she has ever done.
Yes.
They sold her masters to someone she didn't like, and she said, I know exactly what I'm going to make those valueless. Let me just take a cool couple years of my life and put all this work in just to like inconvenience you and make you less money. I mean, what else? What am I missing?
Well, the re-records are so interesting. It's the pettiest move also, because I saw an article that came out, and definitely the re-records have made people listen to her original albums less, but not enough that those masters are worthless still.
Really?
An article came out. So there was a podcast done about Taylor Swift called I always get this wrong, Every Single Album on The Ringer. It's about 10 episodes, goes through all of her discography. And then they talk about the re-recordings, and it is hosted by Nora Princiotti from The Ringer, and then the old CEO of Ticketmaster. Ooh. So like a music industry heavy hitter. And they talk about how they're listened to, I don't want to say equivalently, but kind of. So it's interesting how she is continuing to do the re-records, even though like publicly and socially, I think she's, given them their like a taste of their own medicine, but financially, I don't think it's actually like working per se.
I feel like, is it possible that it will work better once she's done them all?
Yeah, I think so, because you're right. But I think it was looking at
like Fearless versus Fearless.
Yes, and then Red versus Red. Don't quote me on that. It's a really good, so that Every Single Album or whatever the series is called, they did Taylor Swift, and then they did Adele, and then they did One Direction, and then all the members of One Direction. And it's really good. They go really in depth about the songs in a different way than maybe is, because obviously we've heard every analysis and stuff like that. But yeah, really interesting stuff. But yeah, that is just interesting. But that is the pettiest thing that I've probably ever heard anyone ever do in my entire life.
Yeah. Taylor is just so petty. I feel like there's one other big thing I'm not even thinking of, but I mean, the Bad Blood music video. I mean, she just is like, she's the pettiest woman of the decade. Like, yeah, Katy Perry like gets dancers from her tour, and she makes this whole music video where she like kills her in the music video. Like, Taylor, I need you to take it down. But
like, it's so wild. Like, and it's just so wild to think that someone like disses you, and then you make like a top like pop song about it.
An effigy, you like kill her in effigy. Like, Taylor, it is some dancers on a tour. Yeah. I mean, I like a crack theory about like it was actually about something else, like something gay, but it's still petty. I don't care what she did. Like, if she stole your girl, like whatever, it's still petty.
Yeah. Wild. And then it was acknowledged in the You Need to Calm Down music video that they had a fight.
Yeah, and then they made up. And well, that's like one of the big Lover era come out rumors is like before the music video dropped, this podcast, they said like, yeah, I have this friend, they were working on this Taylor Swift music video. Yeah. You know what she's doing? She's like making out with Katy Perry in the music video. And it's kind of weird, right? And then like it all like exploded on Tumblr, like, Taylor's gonna be queerbaiting. What is she doing? This is horrible. And like really it was just like an expression of Taylor's actual queerness, that she was gonna like address that era and come out. And Taylor like had them like, change the music video and like last minute and like cut it all back together. And anyway.
Well, it was really anticlimactic, so I kind of do believe that, because when they just like hugged in it, I was like, oh, like.
Well, I believe it too, because they said like Taylor's in a Fries costume, Katie's in a burger costume, and they're making out. And they were in Fries and burger costume.
Yeah.
That's so like this person did have the inside track.
Yeah, that's so wild.
Right? And then you have Christian Siriano basically confirming it all. So whatever.
Anyways, Pettyweight Champion of the Decade. I should just do a full episode on just her pettiest moves. Maybe you can come back.
Oh, I would love to. Yeah, we'll do it.
I love that. So finally, it's time for This Week in Petty, where Cam is going to share a story about something that happened to her in her real life that she's petty about. What are you petty about this week?
I mean, I don't know if this is like in my real life, but I'm petty about being right about everything because this summer, okay, last year, some episode topics we covered. I have an episode called Gaylina, where we talk about Selena being fruity. I have an episode called Lesbian Jesus and the Not So Secret Ship, which is about Haley Kiyoko and Becca Tilley, where I talked about that. That happened last year. Earlier in the year, I had an episode called I Would Bet Money She Was Going to Come Out During the Lover Era. And guess who confirmed that on TikTok? Mr. Christian Siriano. Like, I'm just saying, I'm sure I've been wrong about some stuff, but I don't know what, because everything I do keeps getting confirmed. So
literally, you should do an episode of like clips from you saying this stuff, and then
oh my gosh, I should
updates.
make like TikToks.
Yes,
like, well,
that's such good
here's
content.
This being confirmed. Like, I'm sorry, I try to keep it humble. I try to keep it real, but like, I think I'm like, my nose for this might not be horrible. And I feel like if people want the tea, they should come find me because I've got a good gut instinct around this stuff.
100%. You're my go-to source for anything Gaylor, really.
That is so nice.
It's so well-deserved. I love your Tumblr.
Are you,
really
do you read the Tumblr?
I read your Tumblr, but I'm not a Tumblr girl, which is really weird because I was really depressed as an adolescent.
You feel, you have a Tumblr girl energy about you.
Yeah,
but also like you seem really cool. Like I always feel like you're like really cool, and I'm like a nerd.
No, okay. A, thanks, but B, I'm like the nerdiest person.
Well, you seem cool.
Well, thank you. I love that.
Also, can I just compliment the name of this podcast? I meant to say it up at the top, but like, I wish I could name it. Like, that is such a good podcast name.
Thank you. I give all the credit to Chrissy Teigen, who tweeted it once, and I just ripped it off.
Well, shout out to Chrissy Teigen.
She made a meme of herself that just said, "This face screams ready to be petty," and it was like her like grimacing. And I saw that, and I was like,
so true.
Some of my other like backup names were so much worse. So
oh my gosh. Well, I feel like all my names are, I went through 3 different names before I landed on What I Will Say, and What I Will Say is just my catchphrase.
Yeah, which is so funny because in my real life I say "but what I will say" like all the time.
I feel like it's just not that original of me, but it is what I say all the time.
Yeah.
So like, at least it's true to me. It's not like cool or catchy, but it's true to me. But also apparently true to everybody else, maybe.
Yeah.
But here's what I will say. I just do. My dad would always say that to me when he was like trying to prove a point. Like we were having like a debate or a talk or something. He'd be like, "Well, what I will say." So I always say it, and I was like, "Well,
no, it's perfect. It's perfect." Where can the listeners find you and anything else you want to plug? This was so much fun, and I'm sure people are chomping at the bit to get more Gaylor content.
Oh my gosh. Well, I would love that. Well, and we have expanded a little bit beyond Gaylor, so
You're right. Yes.
If you're not into Gaylor, you could check out, we've got a deep dive on Ivanka Trump, Shamila. It's some interesting stuff there. So, but we do a ton of Gaylor, and proud to be doing that work. But you guys can come hang out with me at What I Will Say on TikTok, at What I Will Say on Instagram, whatIwillsay.tumblr.com, interactive blog. You can send me anonymous messages if you want. I'll answer your questions. We've got a Patreon. We have like a ton of bonus content. And through the Patreon, you get access to the Secret SwiftCron Discord, which is a very, very fun community. I'm so proud of that community. We have a ton of fun in there. And just like, if you want to make lifelong friends, you should come through the Discord. I think that's everything.
Nice. Thank you so much for coming on. This was really fun.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. I always have so much fun talking to you, just gabbing out. We'll do more collabs in the future, I hope. Yes.
Yeah. I feel like we already have some.
No, we already have like 16 different ideas planned just from this episode chatting.
Perfect. And there you have it. Thank you so much for listening. And thank you to Cam for joining me on today's episode. If you enjoyed today's episode, like I said at the top of the show, the best thing you can do is subscribe, leave a rating and review. I don't know why I said subscribe like I had the biggest list of the century, but subscribe, leave a rating and review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Share it with a friend. buy some merch, send me a DM. I don't know, just just do whatever feels right for you. I hope you are safe and healthy out there. As always, I'm your host, Tori, and I am ready to be petty. See you soon. Bye.